Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for May 30th, 2025. It's Season 4, Episode 150. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI who's not here today, we're doing 10 articles running a broad spectrum from across ohmTown, which is a news aggregation site that couples a bunch of articles into 6 different categories, 50 subcategories. So 50 main categories here, and then 50 channels as we refer to them. Basically streets down Main Street, ohmTown.com. Go over and check it out. Sign up, sign in. We do 7 shows. One daily that runs every single day, of course, naturally, right? And 6 weekly shows, 3 on Saturday and 3 on Sunday, each with a niche topic in mind. Stick around. You'll be able to follow us on Twitch and on YouTube and find out more as we go. You can also go over to ohmTown.com, go over to YouTube, download the podcasts. Those get posted every day and or every week because the 6 shows are on the weekends. There's a Discord, there's a Patreon. Patreon isn't really active, but go over and check it all out and be sure to follow us. That would be great. Be sure to tell a friend. So today we're going to be talking about Taylor swiftly buys back her own music catalog, an electronic poker table, the Chrysler building is for sale, Disney Plus perks, middle managers getting the middle fingers, final French to see subgenre, a fake Facebook event, the market for a new router is troubled, not the bees, and kitchen faucets caught leaking lead. Somebody says blames it on Amazon, but it's really lack of monitoring. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com. Stick around. All right, everybody, let's get straight on into this. The first article is over in Stock Marketeers. Taylor Swift has bought back her own music, making her catalog amongst the most valuable of all time. So the catalog was sold, and Taylor Swift was forced to re-record her own music, which was fascinating. And an interesting take on selling a catalog and then basically reproducing it. When it's fascinating because there's nobody that can reproduce Taylor Swift's music except Taylor Swift and maybe AI. So when the catalog got licensed or technically sold to somebody else, there wasn't anything there because Taylor Swift could just re-release, and she did, right? Basically Taylor Swift her way kind of a thing. People were making bumper stickers saying, I'm not going to listen to the old catalog. I'm only going to listen to new stuff from Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift bought back her own stuff. Taylor Swift finally came out the winner after years of fighting over the rights to her early catalog of music. You see, technically you can recall your own copyrights, even if it's licensed to somebody else, but it turns into a very vicious copyright battle in court because the potential for this catalog was extremely lucrative. So nobody would have just said, oh, well, you're recalling your copyright, which once you are the creator of something, you can always recall your copyright, but it's a contract that gets litigated, not the fact that you have the copyright. So that enforcement basically comes down to, well, they've got a contract and that supersedes the copyright, but they can't do anything derivative of that work unless it's in the copyright or in the contract. It gets really complicated and kind of a hot garbage dumpster fire mess. Well, the article is over at marketwatch.com. Lucas I. Alpert put the article together and says Swift's catalog purchase likely puts the value of her music on par with that of megastars like Bob Dylan, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen. I would probably say more so, but more lucrative based on what her performances have been costing or being priced at. So the value of the deal was undisclosed, but the master tapes had initially been sold to music manager Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings in 2019 for $300 million. I would probably say that 500 would probably have been the price. The catalog was later resold to investment firm Shamrock Capital in 2020 for a figure believed to be higher than Braun's original price. So honestly, I think somewhere around 500 million is what it was purchased back as, or because it wasn't disclosed, it may be that there is a potential, they basically have a revenue gen off of it, so a percentage. So Swift subsequently re-recorded several of the albums, which she marketed as Taylor's version, in an effort to retain some control over her own music. She also has released 5 albums since 2018 in a deal with UMG, in which she retained ownership of her masters. So to say that this is their greatest dream come true is actually being pretty reserved about it. Swift wrote in a message to fans on our website, and that actually kind of went crazy on the internet. The deal granted all future earnings from the British glam rock band catalog Queen. 1.27 billion was the catalog price. Michael Jackson's was 1.2 billion. Bruce Springsteen 550 million, and right in there is where I think that Taylor Swift's catalog is worth. In what is considered at the time to be one of the richest deals ever reached by an individual artist, The Boss sold the rights to his entire catalog to Sony Music for a reported 550 million. Pink Floyd 400 million, Bob Dylan 300 million, Phil Collins and Genesis 300 million. But these are kind of old hat musicians, right? They've been around for a considerable amount of time. Phil Collins' Genesis prime was basically in the 80s. Bob Dylan, same thing. Pink Floyd, same thing. Bruce Springsteen, same thing. Michael Jackson, 90s. And maybe 2010s or something like that, I think. And Queen, basically 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. But they all have a following, right? And it runs a range. I don't know the demographics or psychographics of the population that are interested. I have listened to and have always been a fan of all of these, but not Taylor Swift. I don't listen to Taylor Swift's music for the most part at all. It just, I don't have an affinity for it. So, but that is not me. And that's why I say that it's a different demographic now. And so it doesn't have the long legs that Queen, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, Pink Floyd, Bob Dylan, Phil Collins, and Genesis have had. But they priced out at a different time frame. These are all already done, largely generating fandom in 2020s, 2010s. Anyway, she's young. She's still touring. I think that her catalog is going to be probably on par with Michael Jackson, unless she gets canceled, and that's kind of a bigger thing now. I mean, they couldn't even cancel Michael Jackson when all of the stuff was being raised about his history. So anyway, that said, I think that her buying back her master tapes is basically a pretty big flex. I dig it. So, all right, let's keep going though. The next article is over in Rounders Gear, which is a show about table games like poker and stuff like that. So, electronic poker table on display at WSOP, World Series of Poker, raises stakes in automation of Las Vegas. This is kind of neat. It's interesting. Jackpot Digital on Friday announced that its new dealerless Jackpot Blitz electronic poker table is on display at 2025 World Series of Poker, which got underway Tuesday at the Horseshoe Las Vegas and Paris Las Vegas. So all-in automation is what it's being titled as in this article. And we'll go over, let's just go on over to casino.org, which is kind of the premier site that we reference here in ohmTown. And I used to be really into Texas Hold'em, but kind of I bounced out of it. Oh, and if you want today's articles, sorry about that, folks. If you want today's articles, you can go over to the chat on Twitch and hit !NSN, and ohmTown will spit the articles out in the order that we're going over. It's not in any order other than that's how they were put into our system. So nothing really is more favorite than the other until at least, I don't know. I don't read the articles until the show. Okay. So touchscreen experiences now simulate blackjack, roulette, baccarat at the Bellagio, Venetian, Resorts World, Rio. While Roll to Win Craps, a hybrid combining electronic terminals with live dice, is available at Circus Circus and Harris, but all in automation. Jackpot Blitz, Jackpot Digital, the leading manufacturer of dealerless poker tables, is making a play to convert what's left of poker in Las Vegas into a series of poker arcades. Jackpot Blitz dramatically reduces labor expenses and HR staffing, maximizing operational efficiencies for casinos and card rooms. And by operational efficiencies, they mean profit for the C-suite and investors. So you don't have to worry about a human at a dealerless poker table being sick or whatever, getting drunk or stoned or just being dense, whatever, flubs, etc. Right? So dealerless poker tables, not counting video poker, were tried at Excalibur about 15 years ago, but failed due to player dissatisfaction. But it's a different culture now. 15 years later, those electronic tables manufactured by PokerTech were perceived as less engaging than live game. And some players distrusted the random number generators, fearing manipulation despite regulatory oversight. Well, I have the same problem with other things. Even with regulatory oversight, if you have regulatory capture, then you can dictate whatever else you want. Know what I'm saying? So Jackpot Digital acquired PokerTech in 2015, has significantly improved the technology, incorporating 84-inch 4K touchscreens and gesture-based gameplay into Jackpot Blitz. So there's more over at this article. Go and check it out. Corey Levitan at casino.org put the article together. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. The Chrysler Building has towered above New York City for nearly a century. Now the Art Deco skyscraper is for sale. It was completed in 1930. The 1,046-foot building was briefly the tallest in the world. Now it's falling into disrepair, neglect. Sonia Anderson over at Smithsonian Magazine or SmithsonianMag.com put the article together. So it's a tale of two buildings, they say. A real estate broker, Ruth Culp Haber, put the article, this quote in here that says it's arguably the most famous building in the world. However, the windows are smaller than a Hudson Yards building. It doesn't have all of the amenities that so many other trophy buildings have. It's interesting. The architecture looks like it's kind of steampunkish. The building is adorned with steel gargoyles. The Chrysler Building was commissioned by the car dealer company founder Walter P. Chrysler, who called it a monument to me. Sounds familiar. Constructed between 1928 and 1930, it rose to a staggering 1,046 feet. It was briefly the tallest structure in the world until it wasn't, which all buildings are until they aren't. The structure was designed by an architect, William Van Allen, in the Art Deco style, a design movement characterized by luxurious materials, geometric stylized shapes, and the building's iconic stainless steel spire, which appears in countless movies and TV shows, is an instantly recognizable New York landmark. They won $150 million, I think. No, maybe more than that. I don't know. The land beneath Chrysler Building is owned by the College Cooper Union, which charges rent to the owner. That is batshit crazy that somebody else can own the land under it. In 2008, the government of Abu Dhabi bought a 90% stake in the building for $800 million, but in 2019, it sold it to RFR, an American development company, and Signa, an Australian real estate company, for just $150 million. Wow. You know what? I won't be able to do it, but I'll buy it for $10 million. I'm sure I can find somebody to support that. In recent years, the Chrysler, the jewel of the city skyline, has lost much of its shine per the Times. These days, architectural trends tend to favor bright and contemporary open-floor offices popularized by tech companies, and tourists have many towering skyscrapers to choose from. Yeah, you would have to gut this. But you can do it. I mean, maybe the windows can't be opened, but they can be opened in a different way. By combining them instead of having really big walls blocking out light and other things blocking light. Some New Yorkers still feel a sense of awe when they walk into the building. Sophie Smith felt it when she got a job at the Creative Arts Agency soon after graduating. So yeah, I don't know. I dig it, but small windows, if that's the main reason, then I don't know. We've lost our way. I'm sure somebody will buy it and tear it all down, which is sad. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Disney Plus's new perks pile on discounts and other bonuses. The Disney Plus Perks program is available now in the U.S. with an international rollout plan for later this year. Offers include a 6-month Dash Pass membership from DoorDash, discounted stays at Walt Disney World, and savings when you shop from Adidas or Funko, along with rotating contests. Hulu is launching its own loyalty scheme on June 2nd, and details for that is still to come. But the article is by Dominic Preston over at TheVerge.com. Freebies, discounts, and sweepstakes are Disney's new way to get subscribers to stay. Basically what I said is the nuts and bolts of it. They talk about details that are still to come, but it will include offers from companies like Microsoft, Pure Green, LG, with new perks dropping weekly over the summer. And to take advantage of the perks, you simply have to be a subscriber to either streaming service, Disney or Disney Plus, or Hulu. And depending on who you are or when you subscribe, you actually have both. Disney Plus first introduced perks last year with a handful of contests and early access ticket offers, but the new program has been expanded substantially to what Disney calls always on array of bonuses. It's kind of like the I just forgot the name of it. Epic. It's like the Epic, all like periodic free drops and stuff like that. So I'll have to monitor that. I haven't really paid any attention to Disney Plus's perks, even though I have Disney Plus. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Middle managers beware. The great flattening layoff trend has moved beyond big tech and into retailers like Walmart. Middle managers in big tech and now Walmart have faced major layoffs. Recession fears and tariff uncertainty are driving companies to cut costs. So look, y'all, humans are nothing to the corporation because it'll keep going even if one or two of you are cast aside for AI and other automations. You're literally funding, you're driving, you're dedicated to make money for that company. Oh, you are so good at your job too. And then guess what? Bye-bye. Bye-bye middle management, and all of your perceived loyalty is nothing more than peeing into the wind. Ali Kelly over at BusinessInsider.com put this article together. Earlier this year, big tech giants like Google, Intel, and Amazon announced their plans to lay off thousands of workers, mostly managers. Last week, the trend hit Walmart, which said that it'll remove layers and complexity by reducing its labor force by 1,500 people, many of them in mid-level corporate roles. Retailer Wayfair also laid off managers, and some companies like fintech firm Block are moving managers into non-management roles. The latest manager purge is partially a symptom of a U.S. economy rocked with recession fears and federal tariff whiplash. Several companies, including Walmart, have begun to raise prices because of the administration's levies taking hold and impacting their overhead costs. A statement to those companies was to absorb them, but that's not how corporations with investors actually work. Let's keep moving, though. The next article is over in Warcrafters. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 didn't invent Final Fantasy or the JRPG, the newly dubbed subgenre, or JRPG. Subgenre has a long and complicated history. The article is over at PC Gamer by Francisco Dominguez. Pas mal non, c'est français. I have no idea what I just said. But anyway, the JRPG is a particularly brilliant fit. JRPG is a particularly brilliant fit for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Sandfall Interactive's tale of saving dark fantasy Paris from a series of increasingly unhappy birthdays, boasts whimsical mimes, Gilded Belle Epoque architecture and an English voice cast able to drop merde and poutine like they're in a Marseille rap battle, but Sandfall's debut, undeniably, spectacularly, proudly French, is just the latest title to deserve the name JRPG. So in last year's Sea of Stars, which was released at its free DLC Throes of the Watchmaker, which was made by French-Canadian Sabotage Studios in Quebec, while you won't spot Quebecois' famous landmarks like the Chateau Frontenac Hotel, recreated in pixel art to answer Claire Obscure's crumpled Eiffel Tower, you will find, I don't know how to pronounce this properly, Gaetan Piment, a character who speaks entirely in the regional French dialect. So this article goes through kind of like a history of things. So it says if you didn't have a chipped console and an import-savvy retailer, you were out of luck. When you're talking about a great JRPG divide, Sabotage Studios Canadians grew up immersed in the SNES JRPG golden age. Due to the cost of translating text-heavy scripts to multiple languages, Sandfall Interactive didn't. So PAL regions like Australia existed in a parallel timeline. They say, of course, this meant that when a wave of indie developers made nostalgic 16-bit JRPG homages, they came from North Americans inspired by NES JRPG. That canon that Europeans mostly missed. California and Zeboid Games made some pretty excellent retro JRPGs like Lovecraft parody Cthulhu Saves the World and Space Opera Cosmic Star Heroine in the 2010s. There's a lot more in this article. I encourage you to go over and check it all out. But it goes through a history of the long and, to me, obscure realm of Final Fantasy turned French aesthetic, or the JRPG style turned French aesthetic, where they get the whole Final French-tasy and JRPG nomenclature. To me, I just found this particular game amazing in story and graphics. It's a small team, dedicated, passionate about it. Has minimal investors chomping at the bit for ever increasing profits, and I think that's the real thing here. But the cost of living is high, so a lot of money is usually needed to drive these things forward. So let's keep moving, though. The next article is over in Technology Today. A fake Facebook event disguised as a math problem has been one of its top posts for 6 months. A nearly year-old Facebook event for a simple math competition has been one of the most viral posts on the platform for 6 months. The event racked up 51 million views on Facebook during the first quarter of 2025, according to the company's latest report on widely viewed content on the platform. That would be an impressive stat for any single post, but it's the second quarter in a row in which this math competition has nabbed the number 2 spot on Meta's widely viewed content. I think, though, that there's a problem here. Carissa Bell over at Engadget.com put the article together. More than 800,000 people responded to the supposed simple maths competition. MDAS. But anyway, that would be an impressive thing. So why is a random Facebook event that's not really an event getting more than 100 million views? It would seem a repackaging of an old enigmatic bait tactic. The header image for the event is an image of a piece of paper with the words "only for genius," followed by a seemingly simple equation. When shared as a Facebook post, the image is prominently displayed in a way that may look like a normal image post. The image also has some striking similarities to other seemingly simple math equations that have been going viral on Facebook for nearly 15 years. And I see this stuff on YouTube as well. Name all of the songs and you only have 1.5 seconds to hear the notes, or name all the movies, or here is a big science test. How many things do you know? That kind of stuff. It's engaging. It's interesting. It's as short as you want it to. You get that endorphin rush because you get them right, and the woes of getting them wrong, and the shit talk that people share when you get it wrong publicly. So in any case, the post offers an interesting view into the kinds of bizarre content and questionable tactics that still regularly go mega viral on Facebook. It's kind of just, it's fluff. It's it's nothing, but it's entertaining, and that's why people are interested in it. So what is a bit of a mystery is why the post has gone viral so many months after its originally posting. So they reached out to the account behind the post, a Nigerian-based creator named Ibuka Peter Ibe, and didn't immediately hear back. And the post seems to be far more successful than any other recent post from Ibe, who has about 25,000 Facebook followers. Moving on to the next article over in Smack Talk, which is typically about Apple and its competitors, which the reason why I put this together is I'm really interested in Apple. I did one of my masters is a MBA, and I did a strategic analysis of Apple and its competitors, and I predicted what Microsoft was going to try to do with its Apple Store, or with its App Store. Even nailed the pricing and scope of everything, and found it really entertaining to see it actually manifest. And so I've always been interested in Apple, because Apple doesn't compare itself to its competitors in the same sense that other competitors name Apple when they compare. Apple just doesn't do that. So I have always found its marketing really interesting. So if you're spooked by yesterday's news that thousands of Asus wireless routers have been compromised by a botnet and are thinking about buying a new router, here are some models to not add to your cart per the FBI advisory. So let's go through this list. These are end-of-life models, meaning they no longer receive software updates and are essentially wide open to known vulnerabilities, which I think is a crime. If you issue a product, you really should, in perpetuity, have to secure it. If it isn't secure, you're basically creating, there's a false sense of security, and so people will suffer. And at some point, everything in that router is either secure and doesn't need support, or somebody discovers some new hole in it and it needs to be made secure. And I think it needs to be done in perpetuity. It just does. I just don't feel that it's right that technology can persist in perpetuity. Why is it suddenly no longer their burden, the manufacturer's burden, to protect said equipment? Just because it's end of life doesn't mean that it's end of life out in the market. It's decidedly no longer fiduciary, fiscally enriching, I should say, but their fiduciary duty should still exist. That's just my take on it. And I come from a domain, I'm in a domain, I talk about a domain that's very entrenched in that. So it's just crazy that a company can just go, I don't think it's lucrative anymore, so I'm just going to stop. And they do that with software as a server, a live service game. It's no longer profitable, so I'm just going to kill the servers. But I bought the freaking game. You benefited from my money, not to the term that you decided. That wasn't the contract, but nowadays it is. Anyway, the routers have reportedly been hijacked by malware known as the Moon, which has been floating around since 2014. The malware allows hackers to control infected routers remotely, spread to other devices, and reroute traffic through proxy networks. And once they're in that proxy network, they can be controlled to a greater degree. So here's a list of the flagged models by the FBI: the E1200, 2500, 1000, 4200, 1500. Why not put them in freaking order? 3000, 3200, WRT 32 or 320N, the E1550, WRT 610N, M10, and WRT 310N. So stupid why it's in that order. But anyway, they say there's a quick note that there was some confusion about the two possible mistakes about the E100 and E300 as reported by PC Mag. The E300 and 100 might refer to products from Cradlepoint, but Cradlepoint's owner Ericsson told us that the E100 and 300 aren't end-of-life routers, and the company added, it appears that there's an error in the advisory where E100 was listed instead of E1000, which makes sense. So regardless, if the router's on the list and hasn't seen a software update in years, now is probably the time to replace it. And usually it's older technology and you really should, so you can take advantage of the latest security and all of that kind of stuff. Entire protocols change and the chipset can't be supported. But that means that something needs to take place, a buyback program or something to mitigate this basically stale security, where people are going to suffer because it's no longer financially enriching to back it up a little bit. Just secure it at a minimum. Just secure, patch what is there. If it can be, the flaw can exist there, it can be patched out. Anyway, next article is over in four-wheel tech. A truck crash has unleashed 250 million bees in northern Washington County. The article is over in jalopnik.com. Colin Woodard put the article together. It says, now I'm not saying that Whatcom County Sheriff's Department did its math wrong, but they're not going to pretend that it isn't an absolutely unfathomable amount of bees. Surely they displaced a decimal or asked the plagiarism machine for an estimate, right? There's no way that a truck was carrying 250 million bees at one time, right? And yet, in addition to the Seattle Times, both KIRO7 and Bellingham Herald report the same 250 million bees claim. So apparently that works out to 70,000 pounds of hives and bees, which is difficult to believe. They didn't say it like that, but difficult to believe number for weight for one truck to haul. But that's what's in the newspaper. Yeah, I don't know, 70,000 pounds of hives and bees. But that's your standard 18-wheeler right there. So how much weight can a standard 18-wheeler? Let me just check something. 80,000 pounds. The maximum weight of a typical semi, is 80,000 pounds, can haul 80,000 pounds. So if it's at 70,000 pounds, it's within its tolerable weight. But wow, that is a shit ton of bees. And yes, that technically that is a lot of bees, right? So 250 million angry bees on the side of the road. And if you counted one bee per second, it would take you a multiple lifetimes to count the bee. That's a silly thing. Anyway, why the truck carrying all those bees crashed, though, is unclear. It reportedly happened around 4 a.m. on Wide Camp Road, about 3 miles from the Canadian border. Following a 911 call that reported the crash, the county sent out several deputies and a bee expert. But at 9 a.m., the bees began to swarm and sting the deputies. Whether that's because the crash or because the bees are agents of the elusive Antifa is also unclear. And I'm reading verbatim what this article put in. So Colin Woodard wrote that. The sheriff's department has a plan that involves closing the road and waiting for the bees to re-enter their hives. It can't determine what the bees will do, but we can say to stay away from the area to ensure you can't get stung, or you don't get stung. So interesting. I think what they're going to have to do is suit up some beekeepers to go and take all of the hives elsewhere and find the queens, and then the bees will go back to the queen. It's basically rebaiting the bees. You're going to have to manage this as a catastrophic event within an apiary and just rehome these bees. Otherwise, you just basically call it a loss and try to get as many as you can. But finding those queens is going to be, well, I would say, well, somebody's going to feel the sting. Our last article for today's non sequitur news is over in non sequitur news. It's actually from Futurism, I believe, or Futurity. I'm not sure which one. Amazon caught selling kitchen faucets that leach lead directly into your water. Now, they're putting the onus on Amazon, but I think regulation is the issue here. In the past few months, Amazon has been caught selling facial recognition tech to police departments, AI-generated books on managing ADHD, rice contaminated with arsenic and other heavy metals, which rice can be, and concentrated sodium nitrate that led to the death of a 15-year-old boy. Now, the mega retailer has been caught merchandising untold thousands of kitchen faucets lined with lead, an enormously dangerous heavy metal. 3 separate recalls posted on the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission advised consumers who bought faucets from Amazon sellers Whisper08, KICIMPRO, Kasimpro, and Chengfeng to stop using the products and seek a refund immediately, because the faucets apparently are leaching lead directly into the water that you are drinking. The deck statement says, well, that's not good. It's in a category that they call Leadfoot. Joe Wilkins put the article together for futurism.com. So again, Kisimpro, or KICIMPRO, Chengfeng, CHENFENG, and Whisper08 are sellers on Amazon that have sold these products. The faucets seem to trace back to a home goods manufacturer in Guangdong province, China, according to information given by the CPSC. Altogether, the recall affects over 100,000 faucets sold between January 2024 and May 2025. Needless to say, lead is a toxic metal. It actually passes through the blood-brain barrier and into fetus of pregnant women. It deposits in your brain and in your body. It actually just sits there. It can't be expelled. At least I don't know of any technology that allows it to be removed. In the past, Amazon was legally allowed to skirt responsibility for selling dangerous items through its site, even ones listed by third-party retailers via the companies fulfilled by Amazon service. That all changed last year when the CPSC issued a unanimous decision holding Amazon responsible for product recalls and notices. Even if Amazon doesn't technically make or sell the product, they're creating the environment by which this abuse can take place. If they don't have any accountability and the seller doesn't because they are just fulfilling it through whatever and they're from China, good freaking luck recovering any losses. My house burns down because a light catches fire, then I'm screwed. And what do I do here, right? So anyway, I won't go into all of the rest of this article. There's some context to this, but go over and check it out. There's more to talk about, but that's it for me and non sequitur news for May 30th, 2025. And with that in mind, I'm going to issue a recall back to the front page of ohmTown.com. The last episode was a recall too to the front page. Anyway, go over and check out ohmTown.com, your news aggregation home. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.